Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Church in Bethesda. Today is Sunday, April 11, 2021. My name is Ryan Phipps. I'm the senior minister here at CIB. Whether you've been here before or you're here for the first time, welcome. We're so glad you're here to join us for a very special worship gathering today. We're going to be hearing some stories from some special guests. Jen will tell us more about that in a minute. But before we move on in the service, Let's take a moment now to listen to some beautiful music from our talented singers and musicians. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Lord, I come, I confess, bowing here, I find my rest. Without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you, oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness, oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found is where you are. And where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you, oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness, oh God, how I need you. So teach my soul to rise to you. When temptation comes my way, and when I cannot stand, I'll follow you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you, oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness, oh God, how I need you. Lord, I need you, oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness, oh God, how I need you. My one defense, my righteousness, oh God, how I need you.
Warrior, every song we can never sing. Warrior, all the praise we can never bring. Warrior, every breath we can never breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Warrior, every breath we could never breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is no beside you. every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Oh, in your every breath, we can never breathe. We live for you. We live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is no beside you. Open up my eyes and wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in the love you told around me. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in your alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is no beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Show me who you are and fill me with your heart and lead me in the love you told around me.
We pause every week here on our broadcast to greet one another in the spirit of peace in a time we call the passing of the peace. This is a time for us to catch up with one another, to say hello to one another. We do that in this digital environment. In whatever platform you are joining us on, find the replies or comments box on that page, and let's take a moment to greet one another with the peace of Christ. Following that, we'll say the Lord's Prayer together. Peace be with you.
Padre nuestro que estás en el cielo, santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día y perdona nuestras ofensas, como también nosotros perdonamos a los que nos ofenden. No nos dejes caer en tentación y líbranos del mal. Amén.
Notre Père, qui es aux cieux, que ton nom soit sanctifié, que ton règne vienne, que ta volonté soit faite, sur la terre comme au ciel. Donne-nous aujourd'hui notre pain de ce jour. Pardonne-nous nos offenses, comme nous aussi nous pardonnons à ceux qui nous ont offensés. Ne nous induis pas en tentation, mais délivre-nous du mal, car c'est à toi qu'appartiennent dans tous les siècles le règne, la puissance et la gloire. Amen.
Vater unser im Himmel, geheiligt werde dein Name, dein Reich komme, dein Wille geschehe, wie im Himmel, so auf der Erden. Unser tägliches Brot gib uns heute und vergib uns unsere Schuldigen. Und führe uns nicht in Versuchung, sondern erlöse uns von den Bösen. Denn dein ist das Reich und dein Kraft und die Herrlichkeit in Ewigkeit. Amen.
Tatu wetu tumjue jina jawe litumba shikisha bon fumbo bukutudi bidu musu bienze pa buloba mudi bienze kamujue tubale chakudi chet chamat kons utlekela kuma banzet mutu balekela bani mabanzet kutufidi mate chibu apotso na kubobi monkama ninkama ya bijum. Amen.
Onze Vader, die in de hemelen zijt, uw naam worden geheiligd. Uw koninkrijk komen, uw wil geschieden, gelijk in de hemel, alzo ook op aarde. Geef ons heden ons dagelijks brood en vergeef ons onze schulden, gelijk ook wij vergeven onze schuldenaren. En leid ons niet in verzoeking, maar verlos ons van de boze. Want van u is het koninkrijk en de kracht en de heerlijkheid tot in eeuwigheid. Amen.
Monya wang lido koto kwan na bregoi gete tunolo biogoi gete maniga na wanan gole pe gwalido isara joga nang yoga telongi togo na gorosio koi igwana go gina go gorosi jalati gorosio koi yoro janasta ati toro janaro amen.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever.
We're going to cut to Jan now on her balcony here in Bethesda, Maryland, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about those who are sharing their stories with us today. Jan?
Thank you, Ryan. You know, every now and then a job comes along, no money, but at the end of it you feel completely spiritually fulfilled. That happened to me a few years ago when the Community Family Life Services group in DC gave me a call. They wanted me to train recently released women prisoners to be able to tell their stories to inspire other women in the same situation. They also included domestic abuse survivors as well. These women are absolutely amazing. I've now trained 5 cohorts of them, and they're speaking all over the area, and I know they're making a difference. You're going to hear from 2 of them today. One is Miriam, a Muslim woman from Virginia. Her story will make your heart hurt, but she's risen above and is helping other women to do the same.
I want you to imagine the door opens and your husband of 23 years introduces you to his new wife. Inside your own home, deceived, degraded, and shocked, I knew I had to do something drastic. I was married to an ER physician for 23 years I looked at like I had it all. I had the house, I had kids in private schools, cruises, car. I put my trust in adults to choose my spouse. That is how I landed in the marriage. And yes, in so many ways it was arranged. I held on for the sake of family, for the sake of status, especially for the sake of kids. And because I was a product of a bitter divorce between my mother and my father, I held on even more to avoid the saying, like mother, like daughter. As my mother stood up against the taboos and stigmas in Afghanistan, I too faced a similar fate in a culture that viewed and still views women who are divorced as contagious disease. Knowing that I wouldn't leave him for the fear of stigma, this gave him even more permission to do what he wanted to do and wanted what he willed to do. I recall the first time I felt physically degraded and abused. I was in my prayer scarf, about to pray, when he asked me to hold the trash. And I turned to tell him, just hold on a second, what I meant to say is that I want to take off my prayer scarf before touching the trash bin. But before I could finish my sentence, I felt a flash across my face. Frozen in utter stillness, my head down, I went to my room and I slept for the rest of the day. To this day, I don't really understand why he did that. I only can assume that it was that I didn't jump fast enough to obey his command. It was my fault, and for that, I needed to be taught a lesson. This was one of many lessons to come throughout the 23 years. He had to really break me in order to have me, otherwise it wasn't worth it. I blame myself for him seeking another woman, but I learned that it wasn't me. I learned that I'm worth it. I asked my son, I don't understand what the difference is between me and his new wife. My son looked at me and said, because when he wanted something, you just did it. But they asked how high. They asked what exactly he wanted, and they obeyed promptly. And then he turned to me and said, Mom, you're blessed that you have options to leave. These women don't. They have to put up with whatever he does because financially they're secure, and culturally it's unacceptable to leave. Now I look at the mirror and I'm determined to love my new freedom. With no shame, I have allowed my self-esteem and confidence to grow. I'm the founder of a support group, Circle of Sisterhood, for Muslim women who are divorced in my community. We have created an extended family for each other, owning our narrative and learning from our life experiences. I want to see my support group, Circle of Sisterhood, at every mosque and community center for Muslim women as a service to allow them to come together and to support each other. I help women get back to continue their education so that they can get back to self-sufficiency and feeling that they are the ones who are in control of their lives. I want to help all those and every woman feel that we are worthy. I want our children to see that we are strong, determined, and in control of our lives. And I also, because I'm here, and I'm here because of Speakers Bureau's efforts in training me and allowing me to own my narrative and my life experience to advocate for promoting healthy relationships away from culture stigmas and taboos. I want these women to realize that divorce is not the end of the world. It is a new beginning. And I thank you all for your time.
Next, we have Aaliyah. Aaliyah was about 19 when I met her. You will not believe the story that comes out of that sweet young mouth. Here's Aaliyah.
Hi guys. not your average teenager. So I have to ask a question. What were you like at 15? When I ask most people this question, they reminisce on maybe their first, maybe second year of high school. They tell me about how they had to plan their sweet 16th birthday party. And then they'll just tell me something nostalgic. When I was 15, I remember being so insecure. Not about a boy that I liked, like most girls my age, but because I had just been asked to squat and cough naked in front of a female officer. She ordered me to take off my clothes and squat in front of her. 15-year-old me was in jail. I was in intake, being charged with attempted murder. In the years leading up to me turning 15, I had always been determined that I would be a ballerina. I love attention, and I love to dance, so I always knew that that sort of stage was for me. However, I grew up in Northeast D.C., in a neighborhood that was plagued with violence, raised by a single mother who had to work 2 jobs to support me and my older sister. My older sister tried to help raise me, but she was just a kid herself, so she was in way over her head. She didn't know how to change a diaper. She wasn't prepared to teach me how to talk, how to read and write, how to tie my shoes, to take me to school, to feed me, but she tried. One thing I greatly remember my mother telling me was that if I ever got into a fight and I was the one that got beat up, that she would beat my butt. Those words stuck with me for the rest of my life. So one day when I was in high school and a classmate and I got into an argument, I went home and I told my mom, that girl was much bigger than me. Mom reminded me again that if I were the one to get beat up, that she would beat my butt. And she walked over to the kitchen drawer and she pulled out a paring knife. She handed me a paring knife with a blade that was about this long. So the next day when I got to school and my classmate approached me, I pulled the knife out of my pocket and I stabbed her right in the abdomen. I was immediately arrested and locked up. Still 15. Jail was a totally different world. Imagine being a teenager. You're already prone to rebel, and now there's someone telling you what to do, what to eat, when to eat, how to eat it, when to use the bathroom, how to use the bathroom, when to go to sleep, and when you could watch TV. And it always stayed on the same channel. I was so afraid. All I could think about was trying to go to sleep on that thin mattress that barely covered that metal slab that was supposed to be my bed. And again, everybody was much bigger and much taller than me. I was released from incarceration, and I found myself back into the same neighborhood with the same friends, the same family, and the same drama. Luckily, a district attorney took a chance on me. She was starting a program for at-risk and high-risk girls, and she wanted me to be a part of it. I was honored. This program gave me a new type of self-esteem. Somebody believed in me. Somebody gave me a chance to show my potential. And it was in that program that she showed me how to live in an environment, but not be of that environment. She gave me the tools that I needed for success that would lead me to greatness one day. Tools such as how to dress for an interview, how to conduct myself in an interview, how to build a resume, anger management, how to change the way you speak according to the setting that you are in. And it was with those tools that I was able to graduate high school. I was able to graduate college. And it was at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, with a degree in rehabilitation services, where I now have the tools to effectively rehabilitate those with mental and behavioral needs. After I graduated college, I became employed for DC's National Association for the Advancement of Returning Citizens Cure the Streets program, where I helped to plan community events and forge peace in the former neighborhoods that I used to live in. I even became employed at District of Columbia Public Schools, where I now work at Ballou Senior High School as a paraprofessional and educational aide. What I do is I assist children with educational and behavioral needs in smaller classroom settings, and I give them more attention and more time to comprehend the lessons that are in front of them. What I'm really able to do is pour myself into the children that need me the most. I'm able to show the children that they can do it because they remind me so much of myself. I worked with one girl. She had actually just turned 15. She was in charge of taking care of her 4 younger brothers because her mother had abandoned them. She was fighting constantly, her grades were slipping, her clothes weren't clean, and she had just stopped coming to school altogether. So I took her to lunch one day, and I let her tell me everything that was going on with her. I just listened. Every fear, every cry, every piece of anger. I just let her let it all go. I took her out more often. On top of letting her vent to me daily, I took her shopping to boost her confidence in herself. I took her out of her neighborhood, out of her comfort zone. I took her to a musical she'd never been before. And I helped her with all of her homework. She did a complete turnaround. And she still calls me constantly. That is my proudest moment. Unfortunately, I lost my mother a month before my 20th birthday. And I always remember feeling so disappointed that she passed away before I could show her that I could change, before I could show her that I was making something of myself. I always think about the kids in DC who were my age and the kids now who don't have that chance or don't know that they can change. They don't know that there's more options out there for them. I have looked for options for them. According to USA Today, the District of Columbia has the highest rate of juvenile incarceration in the entire nation, and a recidivism rate that is hovering just under 25%. That is more than twice that of every state in our entire nation. And unfortunately, these youth in DC don't have any programs because we don't have enough funding to keep our programs going. I wonder what all those kids will do now. How will they succeed? So, I joined Community Family Life Services Speakers Bureau, and it was there that they taught me how to not be ashamed of my story, how to not be scared to tell everybody what I was going through and what I had gone through. And now I use my voice for good. I have spoken to the Justice Impact Institute on the impact of female incarceration. I have spoken to American University on the impact of how we need more nonprofit organizations in DC. I have been featured on the 1 in 4 podcast where I talked to Marcus Bullock, the CEO of Flick Shop, on incarceration and recidivism in DC. And more recently, I have spoken on the budget hearing for the Office of Victim Services and Justice Grants for 2020. I use my voice for good. These children don't know that there's a second option out there for them. And they don't know that there's so much more to us that people don't know. We are strong, we are resilient, and we are yearning for help at the end of the day. So I have to ask you again, what were you like at 15? Have you checked on any 15-year-olds that you know today? Thank you.
He's jealous for me. Love like a hurricane, and I am a tree bending beneath the wind of his wind of mercy. And all of a sudden, I am not aware of these afflictions eclipsed by glory. And I realize just how beautiful you are and how great your reflections are for me. And oh, how he loves us all. Oh, how he loves us. How he loves us all. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves. Yeah, He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. Oh, how He loves us. He loves us. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways. You are perfect in all of your ways to us.
Good morning everyone. My name is Linda. Welcome to CIB Just for Kids. So this week we are going to talk about love and hope. What is love? Love is when you care about someone. Love is going the extra mile for somebody that you really care about. For example, God loved us so much that He gave us one and only Son just for us. We challenge you this week, to love people, to love someone, to be extra kind to someone. We have a puzzle that we challenge you to, find answer to this and do this fun little activity. What is hope? Hope is when you believe in things that everything will work out, even you may seem like things are not going the way you planned. Having hope in things that, something will work out at the end. For example, when Jesus was in the boat, His disciples had very little faith during the storm. Even though Jesus was with them, they had no hope, but Jesus did save them. We challenge you this week that you spread your hope and love throughout this week, being nice to somebody, sharing your toy with somebody, being kind to somebody, or helping them with their groceries or something. And tell us how you spread your hope and love, and share us on the Instagram. We love to hear from you. I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday. May the God's peace and love be with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for joining us for worship. It was great having you with us today, especially those of you who joined us for the first time. Just a couple of closing items. If you would like to get regular updates from CIB, if you go to churchinbethesda.org/get-updates, we've got a couple of different kind of updates you can subscribe to, and we would love to stay in touch with you. Secondly, after this broadcast today at 12 p.m. noon Eastern Standard Time, we are gathering on Zoom for our fellowship half hour. You're welcome to join us, whether you have been here before or this is your first time. All are invited and welcome. Two things I want to let you know that you can contribute to today. If you would like to contribute to the good work that Church in Bethesda is doing here in our nation's capital, you can see those easy ways at churchinbethesda.org/donate. And finally, if you would like to donate to the organization that our speakers from today are a part of, you can do so at cflsdc.org/donate. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for those of you who support us prayerfully and financially on a regular basis. Let's be generous today with our hearts and with our gifts. We look forward to seeing you right here next week on our broadcast. Until then, may you go in peace, and may you make peace wherever you go. Amen.